Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. It's just finally getting back into the spirit of things. I've just been a little busy lately. I've been working on something actually, and I will hopefully be addressing it in a video or two, so stay tuned. I got a little something that I've been working on, so hopefully I'll talk about it soon. But been a little busy, and just been needing some time for myself also. But finally getting back to the swing of things, and I just got back from the theater and checked out the latest mystery movie. And I always know ahead of time what it will be, just because I don't want to just literally go in blind. Because if it's something that I don't actually want to see, then it would be just kind of a waste of money. So, so this I actually knew what I was getting into, and this was definitely one that I wanted to check out. And doing a little more of an intimate setting, just because it's later in the night, it also just helps with the lighting. Um, so, we're going to talk about this film, that film being The Life of Chuck, which was written and directed by Mike Flanagan, who you guys are familiar with, obviously, with television series such as The Haunting of Hill House. In the film world, he's done many of Stephen King's work, that being Gerald's Game, most recently, of course, Doctor Sleep, which I believe we've discussed on the channel. And now he is revisiting Stephen King once again with The Life of Chuck. This stars Tom Hiddleston, as well as Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, Mark Hamill, Matthew Lillard, Jacob Tremblay, as well as other people here and there. Kate Siegel, Nick Overman, who does the narration. And as the story goes, based off of the title, it is based on a short story, also by Stephen King, a 2020 short story, actually, so a fairly recent story done by Stephen King. And as the title suggests, it is about a man named Chuck, Charles Krantz to be specific. And we start the film off in Act 3, as it is calling itself. And we first follow ourselves with Chiwetel Ejiofor's character as well as Karen Gillian's character in a very specific circumstance. And as per how events unfold, the film starts to follow in a backwards motion. And we go from what is a fairly fantastical introduction to deconstructing and ultimately getting to the reality of the world itself and seeing things actually for what they truly are, for actually getting more distant from the more fantastical elements as the film kind of plays with the inner dialogue as well as an external type of dialogue, and the story unfolds in that sort of fashion. And we get to see, this character Chuck in specific points in his life. Some points when he was a young boy, some points when he was a teenager, to then being a full-grown adult, and that's the point of when Tom Hiddleston comes into the picture. And from how the film chooses to deliver the life of Chuck, we get this idea of the concept of time and our own functions and origins to how our individual selves, operate within present moments. It also kind of details that about by moments and time, how we choose to live our own individual lives, and the fragile nature of just our own given time in the universe. And interesting ideas, and to speak positively for a second, which might actually show my hand as to how I feel about the film. That overall atmosphere that is built is sincere, if a little bit sappy. And I think that there, in terms of just the environment that is built, it is something interesting to play in. I think it gets some interesting performances as well. Most notably, I think that Matthew Lillard, I think, stands out surprisingly. Tom Hiddleston provides a lot of physicality to his role, surprisingly, and I thought that was kind of neat. Mark Hamill does a fair job. So it's got some good performances here and there. But I think that the oddly enough, the problem with the film, within its discussions about time and about individuality and about, our relationship to life itself, how much time we have within our own lives, it very oddly enough, has a quite an aimless and ignorance embedded into its craftsmanship. And it appears to be more concerned with bathing within a certain aura than delivering in a larger sense of resonance and understanding. Because, as I said, the film plays backwards, so it's Act 3, Act 2, and Act 1. And as it starts out, it starts in a very heavily fantasy world, and then it slowly deconstructs itself to where we get to reality itself. And perhaps in that structure, there is a comment being made about ignorance and about how we form our own little worlds, as the film kind of relishes in talking about it at some point. Maybe it is trying to do that. Maybe it is actually attempting to do that in a certain fashion. But at least in how it actually is generally conceived, it is, I feel, more concerned in tones than it is to do with actual fundamental story beats, resulting in a rather mechanical piece that is two things. One, very repetitive, because in how it actually presents things, mainly in its dialogue, it just feels almost like a chore, because now we're having to repeat characters that we've seen previously, now in different circumstances, reciting the same dialogue, and you understand, quite frankly, what is going on, and how that plays to the specific character that we are following. And then for another, it's very oddly melancholy. And for a film that is trying to be uplifting, a film that is trying to, talk about, how life is precious and how life is very fragile, and we must be very careful with it, and, also, maybe take chances, maybe don't, making these very, very specific points about life itself. And, for it to end also on a rather hopeful note, it's very oddly melancholy throughout the large portions of its time, because it's talking, a lot more in a cynical view. And I get, again, where that might be stemming from, how there's so much negativity in the world, and, the little spots of positivity are the things that you should hold on to. And that's ultimately what the world should be based on, is that a positivity and hope. The first act of the film, the actual first act, Act 3, as they call it, highlights this absolutely. But it just kind of relishes in that melancholy. I feel a bit too much for my own taste, and it doesn't really give us a lot of hope in terms of its overall story. And there are basic questions to the film that I feel ask but doesn't answer, and it tries to counter that with a question saying, well, is answers more of a benefit? Are finding answers a good thing? And in this case it is, because the title of the film is left without some substance, because we don't really get quite an understanding of who Chuck is literally, like how he functions, except of a man who perhaps is, kind of sitting in the past, ultimately is dealing with things in the past, and has these momentary distractions, in how there's dance sequences, and it feels almost like a distraction from the things that he is dealing with eternally, and almost like trivializing, his events, how things played out in his past lives, and then just the life of Chuck. We don't necessarily know what his life actually was outside of just the past itself, past things that have shaped perhaps his present self, but we don't necessarily know how he himself literally functions, how he operates, how he moves. And it is a fault to that structure. And it's a story that is very content with what it is. It's a film that is very content with how it is shaped and how it is formed. It's very content with itself. And in the case of what it literally is and how it is formed, it's not necessarily a good thing in my eyes. Because it just feels a bit shallow. It feels a bit repetitive. It feels very mechanical. I started looking at the edits and started looking at other things here and there, and less to do about its story. So I found it a bit rambly, a bit repetitive, oddly melancholy when it's trying to be hopeful, and a bit too mechanical. And the act's too much of such for its own good in my own eyes. So I don't necessarily hate it, but I definitely think that there are flaws with it, and I feel though it comes across more melodramatic than truly sincere and genuine in my personal eyes. So those are my thoughts on the life of Chuck. I found it to be fairly mediocre. I don't think it's bad, but I definitely think that there are flaws to it that hold it back. And, it tries to dig deeper, but I don't think that it really gets to those places by how it is structured, by how it is framed, by how it is, by its general concern in its filmmaking. I just don't think that, like, it tries to talk about being explorative in life, and yet the story itself isn't doing such a thing. So like I said, it's very content with how it is, and I just don't think that is a good thing at all for both its story and for just the general technicality by the film itself. But those are my thoughts on The Life of Chuck. I believe it is set to come out. When is it set to come out? This weekend, so June 6th. So if you guys have seen it on the Mystery Movie Night, let me know your guys' thoughts. If you guys are planning to check it out, let me know your thoughts when you guys have seen it. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the film, your thoughts on Mike Flanagan as a filmmaker, some of your favorite films from his, or your favorite TV series from him. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.